Hey everybody, here we are again. Hopefully this week we won't have any problems and you'll be able to watch our video. We'll get right down to it. This past weekend we had a Friday night race for Bowman Gray points on the Bowman Gray tires, and the weather was terrible. It rained all day and we pretty much all kind of had the same feeling that it was going to be rained out. I think I'm the only car that runs my stadium car and in the tour race the next night on Saturday night. So it really and truly, even though I wanted to race Friday night, it was a blessing in disguise somewhat that it rained it out, because I had to change my rear end over, because on the stadium you can run what they call a true track. It's not a locked rear end, and on the tour a spool, which is a locked rear end, is mandatory. So I had the car all laid out on the spool earlier in the week, and then put my stadium rear end in. So that way when I changed it over on Saturday morning, I knew right where to go back to. So it was somewhat of a blessing in disguise, because we didn't have to worry about maybe any damage that we might have had, or bleeding the brakes, or go over any bolts or anything like that. The car was sitting there still race ready. So we thought, and I'll get to that in a minute. But anyway, we went over on Saturday morning, changed the rear end out, and all the tour stuff started up. The motor was already sealed from where I had to use my stadium motor at, was it Southern National? I forget. Anyway, we blew up at, it was at Langley. It was at Langley. We blew up at South Boston earlier this year with the motor that I run on the tour. So I had to use my stadium motor in the tour car at Langley. So it was already sealed. I had to get my carburetor checked and sealed, just with a fresh tour seal for it. The fuel cell tethers, all that stuff. A lot of the stuff that the tour is more strict on, that Bowman Gray doesn't necessarily enforce. Dates on the tethers and dates on the window net and shifter boot, little things like that. All that was done. All that was ready to go. Had the tires mounted. Had everything ready. The oil, we plug up our oil to heat the oil. Monk actually took the drill and spun the oil pressure up. And it was like 3 minutes until practice started. And when he spun the motor up, when he hit the starter, it wasn't real distinctive, but you could tell that it wasn't spinning over real smooth. It was spinning over free. It didn't sound right. And I asked Daddy to come over, and we wasn't sure. And we decided the thing to do would just be try to crank it and see what would happen. Well, as soon as it cranked, it made a racket and cut it right back off. So we got to investigating it and pulled the right side header off, and on the forward, and this is the back cylinder back here, number 4, you could see that the valve tip was sticking up, and you could see that the valve had broke. The weird thing about this is I didn't crank the car. If a car's been sitting for a while and I've got a tour race coming up, then we'll crank the car before we go to the racetrack. But from week to week, the Bowman Gray Stadium, a lot of times I won't crank the car. We'll just recheck the water the next week whenever we get to the racetrack instead of cranking the car. So that's basically where we were. Friday night, we didn't even unload, so we didn't have an opportunity to crank it then. So anyway, long story short, we broke the valve, and like I said, practice had just started. It was about 3:15, 3:20 at this point. And I told Daddy, I said, well, I guess I got to, try to make some plans. And he said, what kind of plans? I said, we got to find a car. So lo and behold, I go up to the bleachers, and John Smith is standing there. And anybody that knows anything about Bowman Gray and about John Smith knows that he broke his wrist earlier this year. It's a pretty bad break, actually. And I see John standing there. Well, I know John's got good cars, and he's got a tour car, because he had it ready for the tour race before he got hurt. So anyway, I see John. I said, John, have you got a tour car? So he goes and he talks to some of his guys, and he says, yeah, we got a car. He said, let's work out something. Let's go do it. So his guys headed on up the road. For people that are out of town, Mount Airy is, I think he said it takes 45 minutes from his shop to Bowman Gray. So I don't believe him, because I've done it twice now. It's longer than that. I thought Walnut Cove was in the sticks, but poor old John, he lives up in the mountains. But anyway, he sent his guys on, because the car was a brand new car, and that was another thing that blows me away, that they let me drive this car. It was a brand new 2013 Troyer that only had 20 laps on it from Caraway, where they went and tested. So it was really neat. It's pretty, and it's humbling to know that that we do have friends like that. that John would do that for me and his team would do this for me. But anyway, the car didn't have axles in it, didn't have mufflers on it. They had to put a carburetor on it. The caster, camber, toe, it had to be weighed out. I mean, they had to change some springs. I mean, the car was actually probably a good half a day away from being prepared for Bowman Gray Stadium. And we go up there. We met Don Watson, got Don Watson's rollback, used Don Watson's rollback to bring the car back. But John and his guys and me, we chipped in and we all teamed up and we got the car as ready as we could get it. Another thing that happened to us is me and John are in the rollback and we get to about Pilot Mountain on Highway 52 and we blow our right rear inside tire on the rollback. Sounded like a cannon going off. We thought the car fell off the rollback and everything else. But it was just one of those days where if it was going to go wrong, it did. But, I tell my kids this is adversity is what drives you to perform and to win and to be a champion. And if it wasn't for adversity, then victory wouldn't be so sweet. But anyway, we talked to Monk and a couple of guys at the racetrack. They said the sportsman race had just started. It was a 40-lap or 40-minute time limit sportsman race right before the modified tour race. We got back, we unloaded it, we put some white vinyl over the 25, made a black one with duct tape. They had to jam up some bolts on the front end. We had to put a radio harness in it. We worked basically up to about 5 minutes before the start of the race. Went across the scales, and where we had waited out in a rush, the car was a little bit low. We had to go back across and raise the car. Anyway, long story short, or short as I can make it, Stephen likes when I say that. I don't know that I've ever had a short story. But anyway, what we did is it was about 5 minutes to spare, just long enough for me to go use the restroom and get a piece of gum and get back in the car and buckle up. We started dead last, and I think 36 laps on the board. I was up to 8th. I dodged some wrecks. I mean, I don't want to make it sound like I was Lightning McQueen and just blew by everybody on the outside, but we made it through a couple wrecks. The next thing you know, we're 8th place on lap 36. And I said, we might really have a shot at this thing. And the car, we had to guess at the setup. So the car was really good considering that we just, threw something together to go do this race. So as we got going, the car, I could tell, was not going to be fast, lightning fast from the beginning, but I could tell it was going to race really good. I had to adjust my line. I had to adjust the brakes a little bit. And next thing you know, we were running pretty good. Here's another bad thing that happened. I went in the corner. When I hit the brake, the pedal went way down. And I could tell the pedal was there, but when I mashed the pedal hard, I could tell that it was losing pressure. What that means is if you're losing pressure, it means fluid is squirting out somewhere. So I rode around slow on the bottom, trying to wait for a caution, never could catch one. Come in, and what had happened is, I said this car's all brand new, and this is just a freak thing that happened. The bleeder on the right rear caliper on the inside, ironically the same tire that blew on the rollback, that bleeder came loose and it was shooting fluid out. Tighten that up, go back out, and as I got into some clear racetrack, I said, man, the car is really good. And it's funny that, well, I'll get back to that in a minute. We got going there and missed a couple more wrecks. Jason was involved in a wreck or two, and we ended up finishing 10th. We were several laps down, but still was able to salvage a top 10. And that's just a testament of how hard that our guys worked and John's guys worked. And John, me and John have had some rough ups and some bang ups in the past. But you know what? It's a testament to the kind of person John is and the kind of person I want to be, that we could come together and make this happen. And me and John talked about on the way up and on the way back about how God works in mysterious ways. Me and John have shared stories about church. I knew John was a Christian. He knew I was a Christian. So, it's funny how God paired us up like he did in this way. So hopefully we could feed off each other and have a great time. And, even though we went out, we had some bad luck and things didn't go our way, we had a good time. And, it was a good fellowship with our guys and their guys. And like I said, I'm truly thankful from the bottom of my heart. Thank you to John and his family and his team for basically, saying, here's my brand new race car, go race it. And there's not many people, whether they're your family or your best friend, there's not many people that would do that for you. So from the bottom of my heart, I want to thank John Smith. So basically what we have going on for this weekend is I've got my stadium car. Jason had another motor. We just didn't want to have to use it. But it's one of those situations where my motor's in the shop. They're going to work on it. They're going to get it fixed. So to get by for this weekend, you know, some people would question with everything that's gone on, and I questioned sitting out, and I came back. You know, the racer in me wants to race, so we do whatever we can try to do to go race, and that's what I'm doing this weekend. So thanks to Daddy and Jason for letting the one car borrow a motor for this weekend. But, you know, it's just as good as what we had, so I don't think that's going to be a problem as far as performance. But anyway, we got twin 25s coming up this weekend. We've only got 3 more weeks left at Bowman Gray. Jason is only 1 point out of the lead. He trails Lee Jeffries. So, you know, I'm really hoping that everything can go smooth and both of those guys can race it out and best man win. But anyway, twin 25s this weekend. Next weekend, just to touch on this a little bit, we got one of our Coma Unwind Modified Madness races at Anderson Speedway on Friday night, and then we'll come back to Bowman Gray on Saturday night. And then the following Wednesday is when we're at Bristol. And maybe next week's video, I'll kind of fill you in a little bit about what we have going on at Bristol. We got some cool stuff going on. I will be taking my new LFR chassis, and what I'm going to talk to you about is maybe some new power plant under the hood. But anyway, thanks to everybody who supported us. Thanks to everybody that you know, I've gotten a lot of people, you know, send me messages and texts and calls and stuff on Facebook about, you know, how they appreciate, you know, how sincere we are in our dedication. And same to you fans that have done this and said this. Same to you for your dedication and support of me and my team. So anyway, I feel like I've rambled long enough. I know we've missed a couple weeks on videos. We tested the sound. The sound's not going to be great. We've got a new microphone ordered. The sound's not going to be great, but you should be able to hear me this week. So thanks for tuning in. Come see us this weekend at Bowman Gray, and God bless you.